Let's hear from both sides of the aisle here. Going head-to-head, University of Maryland lecturer Dr. Jason Nichols and member of the President's National Security Education Board, host of America First on Salem Radio and Sinclair Media contributor Dr. Sebastian Gorka. I just want to talk about this shooting, guys. I got this L.A., this ambush, this attempted assassination, 2 cops sitting in their cars. Jason, is this a product of what the Democrats have basically supported? I'm not going to get in trouble for saying that, but Democrats have basically supported lawlessness across the country with by couching with a peaceful protest defense. Isn't this the end result of all that horrible summer we've had, Jason?
I don't think that's true. This was an act of cowardice, an act of lawlessness. And unfortunately, in this country, we have acts of cowardice and acts of lawlessness. I don't think it was related in any way. There's no evidence that it was related to any kind of protest effort, Black Lives Matter. They don't even know who the suspect is right now.
Right. So but Jason, let me just say, and that's
the other thing that. I'm sorry?
That's the risk here, is that we don't know yet. And this is what happened. And I was in New York when Win Jin Liu and Jorge Ramos were killed, were gunned down in the same fashion. And it turned out the gunman did come from another state to kill them because of what was going on, because they hated police. Jason, just hold your thought for one. Go ahead.
So let me just clarify, when you were talking about the acts that happened in Los Angeles, I think it is important for us not to jump to conclusions. And I would add, it's the same thing that needs to happen when police are involved in something fatal. We should not jump to conclusions. We should actually get some of the evidence. I think that we should never poo-poo or look down upon people who want evidence. We don't have any evidence of who the person was, who they were affiliated with. Right. And we know that 93% of the protests that have happened over the last couple of months have been peaceful. So I think it's a problem when you start saying that and then trying to say that Democratic politicians are engaging in this. It'd be the same thing as blaming, people on the right for the bugaloos or for the white supremacists who have committed acts. I think we need to pause and figure out actually with evidence what actually happened.
Fair enough.
All we know is that this is a tragedy.
You're right. And Sebastian, and again, I just going back to New York, they said the same thing. Let's wait and see what happens. Turns out it was that way. Who knows? We don't know yet. But Jason points out 93% of the protests in America over the summer were peaceful. Yet there was a study out this week that said somewhere between $1 and $2 billion. $1 and $2 billion in damage was inflicted on the country at the hands of these protesters over the summer. The most ever for any sort of protest in the history of the country.
Yeah, look, I can cite another study that Mike Gonzalez out of Heritage published on today that says the opposite, that of the arrests, 95% of the arrests are associated with these so-called peaceful protests. Look, what happened on Saturday is an outrage. A man walks up to a woman and a man in a car who are there to protect the society, to serve and protect, and tries to assassinate both of them. It's an absolute bloody outrage. That's insurgency. That's attempted assassination. But even if it hadn't happened, Eric, let's just say it didn't happen, to deny the context of the last 4 months, I mean, what Jason has just done is outrageous. There's 2 Americas now. There's one that stands with our boys and girls in blue, and one that hates them, wants to defund them, and stands with those who say outside the hospital, where those 2 deputies are in the ICU, says, we hope they die. There's one political party that has normalized violence in the last 4 years, and it's not the Republicans. From Eric Holder, Obama's attorney general, saying, when they're down, we kick them. From Maxine Waters saying, if you see a member of the Trump cabinet harass them, the Democrats have normalized violence, and it has to end, Eric.
All right, I ran out of time. It's a hot topic. Jason, final thought, and Sebastian points something out very important. There were protesters protesting at the hospital. We hope they die. Who are they, Jason? Quick thought.
So again, I'm not so sure that those were protesters or what the context for that was. I did see that one individual went on a live Facebook feed and said, hey, I hope they die. What we have to understand is that we need better relationships between the police and the community. And I think that one of the things historically with Los Angeles is that they've had issues in that regard that has caused community resentment. Now, what we have to do, of course, is pray for these officers and pray that they make it through and that they're better. But I'm putting this on a political party, particularly when Donald Trump was telling people to rough people up at his rallies and all those kinds of things, is absurd. And we didn't see this kind of violence in other, administrations. It seems that we've had this extended amount of violence, and it all goes back to the top. Goes back to the President of the United States.
All right.
Now, it's not said.
We ran out of time.
But you'll blame the president. That's hypocrisy, Jason.
All right. I got to leave it right there, guys. I apologize to both of you. Sebastian Gorka, Jason Nichols, thank you both very much.